McKay is middle-aged and has had a very full life and is doing what she wants to do and is good at it. But maybe self-care or other things explored. Maybe a little bit of love. Maybe some sex once in a while.
Girl,
some point.
Whenever you answer this question, it starts off beautiful and then it devolves into, and how about we get laid?
And so it begins.
Season 1 is so good, and now y'all have made season 2 even better. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's a lovely thing to hear.
And congratulations on your 2 Emmys. It's kind of daunting, I think, coming back to season 2 after all of that success, but y'all were in the middle of making it, so you probably didn't care. But talk to us about where we find Robbie on this 4th of July.
He's seemingly doing okay. It's his last shift before he's going to go on a 3-month sabbatical. He's been fixing up this old motorcycle to take on this very romantic literary odyssey to go find himself. But as the day progresses, we start to question whether or not this trip is a trip of exploration or a trip of escape. Is he avoiding getting the help that he probably needs, that he's advocating everybody else gets? And we find him needing to get out of this environment, but not quite knowing how to.
I love how your familiarity with doctors is so much that you have an entire season that basically proves the idea that doctors are the worst patients. Like, I love that y'all did that. And I think the person kind of proving that is your new attending relief, Dr. Al-Hashimi, because if there was an oil and water type situation, I don't think it could be the two of those. Talk about how she just immediately not only just gets under Dr. Robbie's skin, but I think just really shows him where he's also lacking in certain places.
Different schools, they're separated by age, certainly, but also by doctrine. I think Robbie came in on the tail end of a kind of medical education that really put a high emphasis on diagnostic skills, on not relying on technology, on being kind of a hands-on physician. He's a bit of a dinosaur in that regard. And then you have this new physician who's coming in, who's talking about all the possibilities that this new technology can offer, not only in terms of efficiency and freeing up time for the practitioner, but also improving the patient-doctor relationship and the connection between them in an exam. But it's still flawed technology, and there's no guarantee that if we are given more time on our schedules, that we won't just be given more patients to treat. And a lot of times these efficiencies come with redundancies that mean layoffs. And Robbie's a people person, and he wants to see everybody be thoughtful about consequence before they get enamored by the new shiny object.
Oh, that's a very Dr. Robbie way of putting it. There's a reason why you write for him. One of my producers wanted me to definitely ask you this because the bookends of music that you do in the show he thought was great. What's on the Dr. Robbie playlist, and who makes that selection? Is that you? Is that Wells? Is it Mr. Gemmill?
Scott wrote the first 3 scripts in season 1, and he slugged that Robert Bradley song in the intro, and I'd never heard it before, and I immediately went home and played it. And then I think I played that song more than I played any other song. I listened to it every day on the way to work, walking to the soundstage from my dressing room. I listened to that song out. And then this year, he came up with this other song, and he picked it early. It was in a temp cut of the first episode. Before we had the footage of me riding to work on the motorcycle, we had just a single card up on the screen saying Robbie rides to work on his motorcycle, but that song was playing early.
People in the health community have reacted to your show, and they're like, no notes, which is crazy, I think, for medical providers. And then also just random people being like, I wish you were my doctor. Like, what's it been like, this reception?
It's been amazing. It's been gratifying. That was the population we were most trying to honor and win over. Even more rewarding than doctors feeling seen and heard is the response we get from their family members who now have context for what their family members do for a living. It's not easy to talk about this stuff when you come home. I talked about my own mother, who was a nurse still is a nurse, she's kept her license up, but she worked at Kaiser in Hollywood for 20 years when I was a kid. And, she would talk about it every once in a while. She'd flare up and say something, but, it was only after watching the mass casualty episodes on the Pitt, she walks into my house and she goes, I think I had a PTSD moment, Noah. I started remembering all these cases. I remembered the 8-year-old boy that I put in the morgue drawer. I remembered the gang member I tried to save with the 2 liters of blood. And she's the pregnant woman, and she's listing all these people that died, under her care. I'm like, Mom, you never told these stories. I was on a medical show for 15 years. You never told these stories. She goes, well, that wasn't real. I go, well, this one isn't either. And she goes, well, this one felt real. And then I thought, wait, so, when you put the 8-year-old in the drawer, when was that? And she goes, oh, your brother was probably 8. I'm sure that's why it bothered me. And then you go, wait, so you came home that night and you made us dinner, or you helped us with our homework, or you took us to practice, or, whatever. And she said, yeah. And you go, oh, wow. I get it now.
Man, I mean, I think that maybe it's trying to get your mom to be like, I'm on a real medical show is like the evidence, because you just made such a great one. And again, I think season 2 gets even more because we find out more about Dr. Ravi's backstory and like who he is. And can you talk a little bit about, I don't know if the secrets is the right word, but the elements of Dr. Ravi that he keeps under wraps that we maybe get more of this season?
You get a little more of a glimpse, as to why he's such a fixer, what he comes from that makes him so dedicated and so intense about what he does for a living. You get a little bit more of that. And, not a lot, but enough.
Okay, well, definitely not a lot because he is a pretty closed book. I'll hopefully get more as each season goes. But I just want to ask you this. Every episode is written individually, but there seems to be such care about the over arc of the season.
Yeah.
Like I noticed in season 1 when I was rewatching it, and I don't know if this is by coincidence, but the only people who are not believing Dr. Ravi when he says that he's fine are the Black women on shift. I don't know if that was just like, it's the truth. It's Gloria, Kiara, and Dr. Collins. All the other people are like kind of believing him, and those 3 are just like, nah, son, he's on something different. I don't know if that was a coincidence, but I definitely noticed it. Think some
Maybe
other
black women are just the shrewdest judges of character.
I think one's your technical advisor, so I felt like that was like an homage to her.
That's a really strong point.
That's a really strong. He's just like, I have no comment now. It's okay. I do want to talk about one of the best scenes that people talk about. That's your episode that you wrote, which is between Javadi and Mateo and the Utah. Just tell me how that came about, because that scene is, first of all, so epic and they act it so well. But I just want to picture you at home being like, yes, this flirtatious awkwardness I want to get on screen.
Writing for me is such a joy when I get to do it. It's such a hermetic experience. I tune the whole world out, and I literally go into kind of a fugue state where I lose all track of time, and these characters start talking. It's a weird thing, and they start talking and that's what they say. And then I kind of look at it and I punch it up a little bit or shape the sentences, but that the character was taken on a skiing trip on vacation, and she relates being around Mateo to this feeling of not being able to catch your breath when you're at a high altitude, was just something that struck me early on, and I just couldn't figure out where to put it. And then it just presented itself. I was like, oh, that's perfect right there.
And it's become a thing, right? Like, people really dig that scene.
I didn't know that.
You did not know that? Oh, yeah, no. Well, they really ship Mateo and Javadi. All right, very last thing. One thing I really applaud you as somebody that lives in Los Angeles is filming here in LA.
Keeping the work here.
What's it like having a show where I feel like the city is celebrating it with y'all because it's filmed here and it's such a part of like the DNA of the show?
For me, a lot of this show's intentionality was born during the strike. 198 days of walking around studios with a picket sign, thinking about work and what work should be and what it should feel like and what it used to mean to me and what I used to feel like it felt like. And I kept thinking, once upon a time I was part of something that felt really like a big family. And there was no division between cast and crew, and nobody talked about inclusivity. It just was part of it. And it felt like we could have a really good time together, work really hard, and the work somehow had meaning that reverberated all around the world. And I just kept coming back to John Wells just ran an experience that I couldn't find it again in the 15 years after I left. I found aspects of it here or there, a good cast, a good location, a good crew, but I hadn't found that same sense of buy-in and started to doubt that it was even real the first time around. And then when we started talking about doing this show and gravitating towards working together again, all those old feelings came back. I was like, oh my goodness, this is possible again. And sure enough, as soon as we got all on that set for that first boot camp week, and I looked at all these young actors and their commitment to learning something that was out of their comfort zone, giving themselves over to a new type of filmmaking that they hadn't done before, totally immersive experience, it just felt like a dream come true. It just felt like we'd done it again.
You still like the Renaissance Fair?
Isn't that kind of dorky, though, where everybody dresses up like somebody they're not?
Yeah, but that's the fun, You can be anyone or anything you want. I actually had this alter ego that was a 17th century French woman alter ego. Stop!
I want to start with Dr. Mel King because I think we're going to find out this season what happens when not everybody loves her as much as everybody did in season 1. And maybe there's some people that have some complaints.
Depositions and having something malpractice. It's so impersonal. It's so about how someone feels mostly, and if they feel like something went wrong and they want someone to blame as opposed to this is what happens. And so I think a lot of the fact that your personality is stripped from depositions and any kind of medical malpractice, and they don't see you as an individual doctor, but just part of a system is hard, I think, extra hard for Mel.
Yeah. And we definitely see that early in season 2. Another thing that we kind of see with Dr. Mohan in early season 2 is the new attending. She may be the only person day 1 that is feeling her, I will say. And that's going to be interesting because I think that maybe the Dr. Mohan she worked with is not the Dr. Mohan that we see every day. So what's that like with Dr. Al-Hashimi?
I think, they're more aligned on a lot of things than Mo and Robbie are. And so I think that's a mentor that's had a really strong impact on her. I think Samira really wants to show her how much she's grown and have Dr. Al-Hashimi be proud of her, similar to Robbie, but I think there's just less tension there. And I think we're so much more aligned on so many things. And so I think it's nice for Samira to have someone in her corner a little bit.
And same with Dr. King. I mean, all three of them worked at the VA.
Yeah, same thing.
I think she is a gentler hand for sure. And also Robbie's very tough love, and Dr. Al-Hashimi has a softer, more like encouraging and using the past to help booster and bolster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is an interesting way of putting it. Also, I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say that every social interaction is maybe ones that Dr. Mel King doesn't pay attention to, even when men are blatantly flirting with her.
Throwing themselves at her.
I mean, just...
Mel's just like, what a nice guy that was.
Do you think she'll ever get to the point where she can be one of the many ships of the pit? Because there are many.
I don't think of her as thinking about sex and sexuality at all.
Dang. She's just like, it's not there.
I think more than anything, it's just loneliness and wanting to find someone to share things with.
Yeah.
But romantic companionship is not necessary. It just, in general, companionship is what's necessary.
Well, that's so sweet. But the AO fiction is not going to write itself, Dr. Mel. We gotta have a little bit. But I did like that they gave you that little tease to just show hey, this is a no-go in case anybody was thinking of it. You, on the other hand, ma'am, people had so much to say about season 1. Did you see that, though, by the way? It was the eye contact.
People were, DMing me and being like, where's the bench scene? And I'm like, we didn't shoot a bench scene.
Did you see?
Yeah, there was, this shot of me looking at Dr. Abbot in the finale in the park. And they didn't even end up using it in the final episode, but it was in the preview, and everyone was like, oh, my God, we're finally going to get something. I was like, I don't know what to tell them. Nothing's gonna happen.
So when they shot that, it was us going, who are you again?
Yeah. I think Shawn probably thought I was some kind of weird at that point. And so we hadn't really worked together very much until episode 14, which was shot after all of that. So yeah, it was really funny. I still get DMs being like, where's the bench scene?
Sometimes the accidents blow up.
And I don't even know if it's that just Shawn has great eye contact with everyone.
He does.
And I literally said, I was like, he has eye contact with everyone, guys, but they really locked on his eye contact with you. I've seen the entire edits. I know you've seen those fan edits.
We made the decision to play it that way, so it was definitely fun to play around with that for that episode.
So, for folks that haven't seen season 2, do you think they're going to lean into that more?
I mean, you just got to wait and see.
Okay. See, I knew you weren't going to say anything about it, but it's fine. Another relationship which is not on the romantic side, but one people are very interested in, and that is you and Dr. Langdon. You're just abundance of joy at his return. But is that going to stay that way the whole season? Does Dr. Mel King know everything?
I don't think Mel sees people for their flaws at all. I think Mel sees the bright side of everyone. And just to have someone that she knows at least worked hard to try and understand her, 10 months of not really having anyone who gets her until, of course, Al-Hashimi and Langdon on the same day. That part should have been a much better day for Mel, but it doesn't end up being a good day for Mel.
Not at all. But that's what makes the Pit great, because these horrible days are just so rewatchable, and we just kind of have to keep
so much more fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're obsessed. Another thing I think is interesting with both of your characters this season, it's the pilot's sort of the introduction to the show, but the first season for this show is really the pilot, because it is this it feels like this one big thing. So for y'all, what is the key thing about your character from season 1 that you're bringing into season 2?
I think she's still, that person that's trying to be a patient advocate for her patients. And we have this really great storyline with the DKA patient that comes in, where she's trying to figure out how to help him with insurance and trying to figure out how to solve this problem for him. And I think that's been a great way to bring the Samira that we know and we love.
By the way, DKA is diabetic ketoacidosis.
Yes, sorry.
Wow, y'all just pop. I was going to look it up later, but I appreciate that you gave me the translation because y'all just pop it out all the time. But yeah, so what about you for Dr. Mel King? What is it?
All of the new dayness is completely worn off Mel, but it doesn't really change her personality that much. Or her base is still this happy, very excited to learn and person. And yeah, I think that the big difference is how tough of a day it is for Mel and how alone she feels in every aspect. And it's a very different Mel, for sure.
I would agree with that one. One other thing is interesting. When I was talking to Katherine, she said this character for her felt like a coat that was perfectly tailored. So when she got into it, she was just like, oh, I could live a long time in this. I know it's casting and you're very good actors and you're talented and you're immersion, but I'm like, I feel like y'all put a lot of yourselves in these characters as well because they feel so lived in. Am I right? Am I wrong? How much of yourself do you bring into?
We're phenomenal actors.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because I guess it is a well-tailored thing you can fit into, but I do think they made some changes to Samira so I could play her, which I'm really grateful for.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was supposed to be 36, so they rewrote the character to be 29. And I just think it made more sense. She's someone who hasn't really done anything outside of medical school, and that's the age she would be if she hadn't done anything else, just was straight going through the whole track.
And I was going to say also, if she was older, I feel like she would feel a little too similar to McKay.
Yeah.
And to have that separation
Totally.
was, I think, necessary.
Yeah, it felt cool. And Fiona is always you you're younger than me, but you're playing a character that's more senior to me.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's also an interesting dynamic.
Everyone forgets that Dr. McKay and Mel are the exact same level.
Yeah.
And I think that's also the bias that we have on medical professionals with their age. They assume an older doctor is more experienced or less or so. The questions that you guys get on, do you know what you're doing? McKay doesn't get that, even though she's technically the lesser, maybe experienced one, which is interesting. But what about you? How much of yourself do you feel you bring into Dr. King?
For survival's sake, not as much. Otherwise, I'd be just a ball of anxiety at all times, which I am. I'm better at hiding it, I think, than Mel is. And yeah, I think, my neurodivergence definitely shows up, and it is kind of like playing, to a degree, a slightly unmasked version of myself. So a lot of the things I am used to hiding, actually showing it, which is both refreshing and terrifying.
You look good, kid. How you feeling?
Oh, yeah. Great. It's been a journey.
I bet.
Thanks. Robbie around?
He's in with the trauma, but if you hurry back, you can catch some of the pass-ons there in North.
Thanks.
Congratulations on your Emmy, ma'am.
Thank you.
I would ask you to go down memory lane, but we have to talk about this gentleman right here. And as they say in the trailer, the prodigal son returns. So talk about Dr. Langdon's first day back coming into season 2.
I start off in a pretty big hole. I left things on a pretty bad note last year with Robbie. Turned around and I was in a sort of a desperate situation and I threatened my best friend and mentor. And I think I've spent the last 10 months in rehab, hopefully getting better. But early recovery can be a bumpy road.
He's not the golden boy anymore. That's an interesting dynamic this time around. Y'all's dynamic is interesting in season 2. I can't wait for folks to see it because you're the person that cares for everyone on shift. Dana is. How do you think she's feeling about him being back?
She is happy that he's back, but, he and Robbie are having some trouble. And I think that Dana is too flimsy to bear it. I don't think she's got it like she's had it in the past. I don't think that Dana is all the way well from being punched. And I think she really just wants them to sort out their mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away, but smoking has lost its luster for Dana in season 2. But she's still the mom on shift. You know what I mean? Right? Like she's still the one that's like mentoring people. And I love that you get a day one nurse. What was that like? Sort of like, I love how you like strip her down in episode 1 the minute you see her and like take all the extra stuff off of her.
Yeah, that was John Wells' idea. He's like, let's pile her up. He just said it on the day. He goes, let's pile her up with stuff and you take all this stuff up. He just has the best creative ideas in the moment.
Really?
Yeah, but Leticia Holland is playing the new grad nurse, Emma. And
She's amazing.
She does an incredible job. This is her first job out of college. First, film and television gig.
Wow.
And she's really beautiful. She's really was a complete delight.
You've already brought it up a little bit with Dr. Robbie, but I think what's interesting with this shift is in the first season, Dr. Robbie called him his best resident, and he was like giving him so much praise. And this time around, he can barely look him in the eye. I'd be curious how Langdon deals with being humbled a little bit. Like, how is because he still probably is still the guy that thinks he can be the guy. And we see that a little bit when Robbie sends him to triage.
Yeah, I think yes and no. I think you meet a Langdon in season 1 that is very sure of himself. Some would argue too sure of himself. And I think he's been radically humbled. And I think now he's trying to enter back into the space, not quite on his front foot the way he used to be, and not quite sure where he's supposed to be and what is his job. That can be a really hard position to be in an environment where you have to be decisive. And you're right. I think Robbie and Langdon, that was a very important relationship to him. And I think that attachment has been gravely injured, which, the whole people, places, things of it all is a real pressure cooker for Langdon.
I watched all of the Doctor React videos, and it was like crazy how they were like, nurses reacted to it, ER techs, and all of them said the same thing. This is the most realistic one they've seen. How does it become real for y'all? Is it a certain part of the uniform? Like what gets you into Dana? What gets you into Dr. Langdon? What gets you into Frank, into the character?
I've always felt like Dana came really easily to me. I say like some roles are like a really nice soup that you order online and arrives and you put it on. You're like, well, this is nice. Where can I take her? And like, that's how I feel a little bit about Dana. Sort of like all of my insides were just really ready to line up with the character. But I think probably the main thing for me is the accent. The accent is big. And then also I kind of realized in the very beginning of season 1 that she was kind of like a basketball coach. And there's something about that physicality that really works for me, and kind of what's going on with everyone, who needs to go in, who needs to come out, having a plan. And then there was a kind of something about that. I feel like I was watching, what's his name? Phil from the Lakers that I watched forever on the sidelines, and I feel like I'm him.
Triangle.
Yeah.
Get you on that. I dig that.
Yes.
I love that so much. And then for you, I think it's so interesting. Dana is the people that are around her and who she makes better. But with Dr. Langdon, there's 2 people this season that everyone is so interested to see how his new shift works. And that is with Dr. Mel and Dr. Santos. I personally have headcanon that Dr. Langdon actually respects Dr. Santos more for figuring him out. Like almost like he wanted to get caught. Like that's my headcanon, is like she was too smart for him and he like clocked it right away.
Isa Briones is a good friend of mine. I think she's an incredible collaborator. And the relationship between Langdon and Santos is something I think is so rich. And I think there's so many layers to it. These 2 people come in here and they immediately butt heads in a way that I don't think either of them fully understand. I think Langdon definitely doesn't fully understand. He's challenged by her in a way that he is uncomfortable with, and I think he is seen by her in a way that he's uncomfortable with. I also think he sees himself in her, which if you're somebody that doesn't really like who's looking back at you when you look in the mirror, if you see yourself in somebody else like that, that can be a hot experience. But yeah, I think there's a lot of water in that well. So we'll see where it goes.
I think Dana would know who's the like hot couple. Has she got any favorites?
Wow. Yes.
I
really kind of liked the Mateo Javadi thing because she was such a spaz and because he's so adorable. I thought that was really pretty cute.
Also, that's Noah's episode, so he wrote that.
Yeah, he's incredibly smart and has just a really distinctive writing style. You can always tell his dialogue. Like, I'll love something in another script, and I'll say to someone, oh my God, that line is hilarious. They were like, Noah, so often it's his line. Yeah, he's really good at dialogue.
What's the good word, Crash? You saved that ventriloquist dummy?
Yeah.
Really?
No.
Wait, tell me you're not actually charging about losing a mannequin.
It's part of the exercise. Dr. Al-Hashimi asked us to do it.
Who's his next of kin, Barbie?
I'm so excited we're here for season 2, and you're both so good. Let's say they became like comrades by the end of it, but y'all's dynamic at the beginning of season 1 was absolutely hilarious. Where do we find the two of y'all in season 2? Is there like a built-in bond now, or how's it go?
So yeah, I think we had our ups and downs because we were getting closer. Yeah, because we'd sort of been put together in triage, and I think they purposely put together two characters who couldn't be more different and couldn't come from more different sort of upbringings, and so to match us up was, there was just a lot there. Yeah, to explore. Yeah.
One thing I think is interesting is they both have a lot of outside familial pressures. Are we going to get to see your ex, Harrison, again? Maybe your dad? Like, I feel like your family is going to be a big part of the Pitt no matter what, because she is a working mom.
It's always there, kind of underlying all of my responsibilities. So I think it informs everything that I do. They don't show up in season 2.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I know Chad was so cute.
Is this because you are a working family? Do you like turn to the casting director and be like, I know a guy?
Oh, with my dad?
Yes, with your dad.
No. A producer walked up to me and was like, hey, listen, your father's going to come. Would you want to maybe ask your dad? Like, they were just really excited for it. And it was the only guest star. They flew out. But I think it's because Noah Wyle likes my dad's work. My dad's a working character actor, but not like crazy famous. And I think he's just been in a few movies over the years where Noah just really liked him. So it was very cool for the Dourifs.
He is very iconic. I don't know what you're talking about.
Like, he's a wonderful human too.
Chucky to Wormtail, we've hit some things in between, ladies and gents.
Oh, and Cuckoo's Nest.
And Cuckoo's Nest, yeah. Oh my God, seriously. There's been some very good hits on the Dourif.
Couldn't be more proud of my dad, to be clear.
But then with your mom, first of all, I see an estranged parent in the making in season 2 with what's going on with Javadi. Talk a little bit about where she is, because she is trying to find some independence.
Definitely think she's trying to figure out who she is and make some decisions for herself. And she's getting a lot of input and not much love. There's a real version of events where they figure things out, and there's a version where she becomes an intern and starts making money, and they never see each other again. Yeah.
And in season 1, we saw that kind of manifest itself with how much she felt she had to defend her age and her right to be there. And we don't necessarily see that as much in season 2. But I'd be curious if you could talk about, is it still triggering for her to be seen as a nepo?
Particularly after this exploration with McKay and Javadi as characters, I think that nepotism is a form of privilege. And it's not at all negating any hard work. Privilege is not the absence of hard work. It's just the opportunity to do the kinds of work she wants to do, right? And I think she hasn't figured out if this is the kind of work she wants to do. She doesn't even know if this is privilege she wants to use or if she wants to avoid it, or she just doesn't even know how she feels about any of it. But I think that having been around McKay a bit, she sort of come to terms a bit with there's different ways of doing medicine, and she doesn't need to follow in her mom's footsteps to follow this dream. And is it her dream and all that stuff? She shows Javadi such a new way of being a physician that I think never occurred to her. And also, if Javadi does stay in the ED, her mom doesn't want her to. So that is, I think, a really...
Oh, she's living for that. I definitely felt that. And then I also think Dr. Robbie's behind it. And what? She could be down here. It's cool. For your character, though, one of the things that's interesting is that everybody grows, even though it's one day. You see the growth of all these characters. We're starting 10 months later. What are you most excited for the places that your character gets to go to in season 2, if you could preview a little bit of that?
My journey is sort of existential in season 2. I really think that I'm confronted with questions like how short and fleeting life is, how little time we have, and what is missing. McKay is middle-aged and has had a very full life and is doing what she wants to do and is good at it. But maybe self-care or other things explored.
That's a good way.
Maybe a little bit of love. Maybe some sex. Once in a while.
Girl,
at some point.
Whenever you answer this question, it starts off beautiful and then it devolves into, and how about we get laid? And it's beautiful.
They're all combined.
Listen,
you know what I mean?
I think she knew where my segue was going to be, because let's talk about the Utah of it all, ma'am.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Hey.
I love, first of all, that that's Noah Wile's dialogue, that he wrote that. That is the best thing ever. He did not know that that's become a bit iconic, but I hope you know that people live for that Mateo Utah scene and your whole breakdown.
Oh, that's cute.
Do you not know?
I'm trying to stay off the internet a little bit.
Okay, that's fair. That's probably
I know
like
people love Jalen. People love Jalen, and Jalen's going to be a big star, and he was my Utah first.
I mean, Jalen, whatever, but they like y'all's dynamic. Like, they like that he calls her Victoria. Come on, girl. Do we need to rehash the romance?
I mean, we all like it.
The ship of the season.
We are all into it.
And I love how you're like trying to downplay it. I'm like, this was the ship of the season.
That's very sweet.
He called her Victoria.
And that smile, get out of here.
The other thing I feel is so great is the realism that you guys do. The fact that like doctors are reacting to it and being like, no notes. This is the most realistic show we've ever seen in television. How do y'all get into the characters though? What is it the uniform? Is it the way you put on your stethoscope? Is it you have to say some medical jargon and then you're in it? I don't know. How do you get into Javadi?
It's so like holistically everything comes together. I get the accent in, I get my costume, I get all my props on, my ID badge, my like, and then also you're stepping into the same set. The set hasn't changed at all. Nothing's gotten shinier or fancier. I mean, some things we can take out of the set now for camera, like just whole bits of Central, just they made removable. Oh, like I didn't know that. Desk. Yeah. Central the pose. You know, there's the 4.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Oh, wow. We'll go and take them off for you one time. But they can remove things. So things are easier for camera, but like the set's still the same. It's still aged. It's still real. So it does feel like you walk into a time machine when you walk in and time stands still and then you walk out and it's already dark outside every night. It's so immersive and there's 100 background doing beautiful, accurate work every day that like, I don't think you could step in and not be already in it. Yeah. I feel like this is just a compliment to casting. I'm playing something that's so close to the bone for me that it was really surreal when they told me the backstory of McKay. I just feel like I won a raffle ticket where they happened to have written something that was like quite perfect for me. And it's also kind of scary to play something so close to the bone. And then to do the medical stuff, you know, you like throw a penny on the set of the Pitt and you hit an actual medical professional. So many people are spending so much time making it realistic. It's really a testament to a lot of people's work. And we just come in, we know exactly what we're technically supposed to do, and then it's filmed.
What is the something about your characters? I'm so glad you talked about your backstory that you didn't talk about on screen that we're going to get to explore in season 2. Like, what little secrets are we going to kind of noodle out that we hadn't known before? Because I feel like there's a lot of backstory we don't know about either of your characters.
Yeah. There's new characters in the ED, and they sort of bring out new sides to Javadi that maybe she's not very proud of. Maybe she gets a bit snippy. Maybe she falls to the level of maybe somebody she thought was a bully before, and becomes herself a bit of a bully.
Wow.
But Ogilvy's annoying, so it's fine. I think that's an interesting thing, especially for somebody growing up. For somebody new to come into your life and like awaken a part of you that you didn't know existed and that you hate is, I think, an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, sure.
I think that there is a loneliness to McKay's life that is triggered in season 2 that she's been pushing down for a long time. That kind of comes to light. That isn't totally comfortable.
What do you think of the app?
I mean, it's hard to say without seeing the full thing.
Take a look. Studies show you can spend 80% less time charting.
Oh, excuse me. It says here she takes Risperdal, an antipsychotic. She takes Restoril when needed for sleep. So is that,
AI. Almost intelligent.
Let's just say a lot's happened between you two over the course of the last 10 months. Roommates, leveling up. I'd be curious if you could talk about the dynamic between Whitaker and Santos. Still antagonistic, or where are we at now?
It's changed.
I think finding a balance.
Yeah, finding a balance. They're coexisting.
Yeah. I mean, roommate situations are always a little interesting. So I think they're dealing with each other's eccentricities and maybe a little too close for comfort. When you're working with someone and living with someone, that's a lot can happen there. But I also think they're getting to know each other in such a different way that I think there's a lot of care there still. It's very much like sibling.
How they communicate at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's been 10 months, so there's a lot unsaid, I think, when you first see us. I think a lot of people are going to be like, well,
we don't really address it.
Are they roommates?
Episodes.
But it's done in a really nice way because you get to see us sort of very slowly.
Just our demeanor changes with each other. And
and you can see they've bonded and they care about each other.
They don't necessarily always know how to show it, but they care about each other.
Well, they are damaged little children. Yeah. Listen, the one thing I will say is I used Dr. Santos because I was obsessed with this show as a litmus test for people. I was like, listen, if you have all those strong feelings, come episode 1, talk to me on episode 15. I used to like get all up in my...
Yeah.
But one of the things I do think is interesting with that is how does she deal with that as regards to Langdon? Because my headcanon is that he knew that she was going to figure him out and that he kind of wanted her to. Like, that's why he went so hard at her, is because he knew she was going to be like a dog with a bone and not let it go, because that's what he would have probably done.
Well, that's the thing, is they're so similar. That's been the cool thing of watching the reception of these two characters, is like they're basically the same people, but one of them is a man and one of them is a woman. And so how that's received is very different. And I think, yeah, and because of that, Santos has had a rough 10 months, because even though she was right, people don't always like when you're right about something a beloved man is doing and calling someone out. And I also think a lot of people don't necessarily know the ins and outs of what happened. I think Robbie and Santos know exactly what happened, but other people just know the spark notes, know like, oh, he's going to rehab. He's got to do what he got to do. They don't necessarily know the illegal part of what he was doing. And so I think she's been a bit of a pariah. And so him coming back is just bringing all of those feelings up, because the last time they really interacted, he screamed at her and told her she did not belong. And I think as much as she likes to pretend that things don't affect her, they do. And she is a sensitive person underneath all of her walls. And she's struggles to feel like she belongs, and him coming back is just bringing it all right back up. It's bubbling up, and you'll see how those tensions rise. At the first few episodes, they're avoiding each other like the plague, as one would, but that can't last forever, and you'll see how that clashes.
Oh, I can't wait for it. It's going to be delicious.
We had fun with it.
Another thing which is also, I think, interesting is your character, Whitaker, was such the wide-eyed M4, whatever. Now he's the intern, but he's got his own group of wide-eyed interns this time around. What's that like for him? Like, because at some point you see him, you're like, look at him, he's leveled up. And at another moment, you're like, oh, Whitaker.
No, he still struggles.
Yeah.
But that's the cool thing, because I think, he has to be more responsible now as an intern. But then having people he has to teach, I think, is almost forcing him more to at least appear like he knows, because you wouldn't follow someone you don't believe in, or or don't believe is competent. So it's an extra level. He has to believe he's maybe better at his job than he is, just so he's not letting down people he's now teaching.
I think what's interesting with this show is the pilot is like the kickoff of every show, but like for this one, really season 1 feels like the whole pilot because of the way y'all shot it, and it feels like just one day. What do you think are the biggest things from season 1 with your character that you're trying to bring into season 2 that's sort of like essential to who they are? Or maybe some of the things that are really different from season 1 to season 2?
With Whitaker, how he was in season 1, it was important for there to be progression there. So for me, it was shedding a lot of that fear. He'd be fired if he was still like that. So it was very quickly, for a long time. I think you can put up with it for a day like that. So for me, it was just about making sure that he's kind of flourishing, I hope, in a way. Struggling in a lot of ways, but at least appearing to have things more compartmentalized and has his ducks in order a little bit more now. So for me, it was important to show that difference.
I think we get to explore things more. The writers do such a great job of very naturally sprinkling in details about our characters and about who they are underneath in very nuanced ways. So it does mean, because it only takes place over one day, you only get so much. And so we get to just like dig a little deeper and a little deeper. We've learned that obviously she's dealt with some traumas in her past. She has dealt with abuse and mental health issues. And so I think we get to just dig more. The device is like, we see how these patients affect them. And I think in this season, she works a lot with kids. A lot of her patients are children. And I think you see the care that comes out of her in such a visceral way, and it can be such a stark difference to when she's working with an adult, or especially if someone's being kind of an asshole to her. She's like, okay, I'm not even gonna give you the time of day. But with a kid who is so vulnerable, I think because she feels like that on the inside and knows what it's like to be a vulnerable kid, she really becomes her best self and the best doctor she can be when she's in those situations. And you get to really see the depth of her character through those patients.
I love that. One of the things that's interesting is you both definitely go to a lot of really emotional places in season 1. Your character more than yours, but both y'all made me laugh a lot in season 1. Like the scalpel incident for you, and also the sort of like wide character to like, you know, Jerry Lewis to Dean Martin sort of thing. Like you play the straight man to a lot of his laughs, so you're still a part of them. What was the scene that made you laugh the most, either watching it or being in it? Because I feel there's moments where y'all are having a hard time keeping it together.
I loved so much the last scene that we did, because for the first time we weren't inside. I mean, we still were in the hospital, but like we were in the emergency room environment. It felt like we were just doing a normal scene, which is what we're used to as actors before doing the Pitt. But now, like, all of our scenes are like over a patient it's all about the medicine. But then when we got to do that final scene, it was like, oh, we're just people like having a conversation. It's just so fun.
And they get to see each other in outside of that environment, and I think
it was so loose and fun. You were dancing. We got to just poke fun.
How much fun did you have with your scantily clad dance scene?
I wouldn't say fun. A lot of a panic about it.
I had fun.
Scott,
I had fun watching.
Scott gave me the track that they wanted to use. I just remember playing it over and over again and just going, how am I going to do it? Should I choreograph something?
He's got
maybe
moves.
He got moves.
Like Jagger. I'd say it. Let's say it moves like Jagger. It was very nicely done.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
Dr. Robbie, is this a good time?
That depends on what you have in mind, Dr. Al-Hashimi.
I'd hoped you would have reviewed my ideas for improving the department. I was looking forward to getting some feedback from you.
Your character comes in as Dr. Al-Hashimi and just really puts a lot of people in the pit on edge. But talk about coming into this, because they hadn't won the Emmy for your first day.
No, I think, what episode were we on when Emmy
Around
nominations?
6.
Yeah, when they were announced. Obviously, everybody knew the show. Everybody loved the show. So it was incredibly intimidating joining. But I the vision of the Pit from the beginning has been to honor healthcare workers, and a lot of the sort of subjects and issues that they tackle in the first season and the characters that they explored. It felt very aligned with the kind of work that I believe in and want to be part of. And so obviously it was a no-brainer for me to want to be involved, and for them to take me is just an honor of a lifetime. But yeah, it's a very different entrance. Like Sepideh Moafi, the actress, walking on day one of the Pit, it was different the way Dr. Al-Hashimi walks into the Pit on day one. But we both felt that kind of, needing to sort of establish yourself, prove your worth. It was sort of a delicious thing to embrace, because it's the stuff that you get for free. You know what I mean? You don't need to act anything because it's already there. That sort of abundance of energy is there. And it's both mine and the characters.
The audience is going to be like, who is she? What is she? And then because I know, because I came into an already established, in sync thing too. All the actors and all the directors and the writers are going, who is this person? They'd come in here and just start telling everybody.
Well, that's literally what she's brought in to do, is to shake up the culture and improve the system from within.
She's doing her directive, which is true. Directive's coming from Gloria, not one of the ER's favorite sons either, but I get what you're saying. She was given a mandate. And I think if Dr. Robbie is chafing with her style, I can only imagine what our ER cowboy, Dr. Abbot, is feeling.
Dr. Abbott has a different way. It's like the system is broken, yes. So f it. Let's just break the rules. You know what I mean? And that's sort of his approach. You know what I mean? The big, beautiful bill comes in and says, we're not going to have funding for veterans. It's like, well, I don't care. They're going to get what they need, and I'm going to make sure that they have it. These two meet, and they have an instant connection, because they both worked. Abbott, as a combat medic, worked in Afghanistan, And Dr. Al reveals that she has a history over there.
He's a humanitarian doctor.
So like there's an instant connection there, and Robbie's view is different than Abbot's. That doesn't change their respect for each other, but they're old school. They're ER cowboys. They're just like, okay.
Of course they're gonna,
Yeah. It's different styles.
I really loved how well written so many of the characters in season 1 were. Like, I think you say a line at the beginning of the MASH casualty. I was listening to the police scanner and I'm like, okay, I know oceans about this character the minute they say that.
Yes.
But this season, you get to explore what it's like to deal with that dialogue as a director. And I'm curious, what was that like? Because I think you did it on Animal Kingdom, right?
Yes.
Did you direct on that? So what was it like doing the Pitt? Because this is a very different show.
Oh man, it's a dream come true as a director, because not only, have I've been in the actor's shoes. I know what that pressure feels like. I know how it's the challenges of doing the procedures and then at the same time saying these words that are difficult. We all speak in a language that we understand, and so I hope that I was a force that was comfortable for them. And, I really do feel like an actor's director.
He is.
And so I take pride in that, and I'm very sensitive to what's going on there. But, look, it's one location. We're in it all the time. It really is like my playhouse. I know it very well. The style of the show is trying to create these little happy accents and not making it look too perfect. The challenge is making these great actors who are very comfortable in this world and the operators who are very good at their job, like finding those magical moments of spontaneity and messiness.
Mm-hmm. And I think like maybe it's how loose you guys are on the set, because the end result feels very lived in, but also very like purposeful. Like nothing feels like it is by accident, even though I'm sure there are like happy accidents in it. I'm curious what you're excited for folks to see, something you discovered with the character, and I'll start with you.
Well, there was a moment that just came to mind where, as you know, in the first few episodes, we're like sniffing each other out. We're like assessing each other. And there's a moment where I ask Dr. Robinavich a question, and it's during a trauma scene, and he ignores me. And my response is, thank you, Dr. Al-Hashimi, or whatever. And I kind of said that under my breath in a take. And Damien, who was directing, was like, you keep doing that. These things where it's like, there's always this sort of convergence of you and the character and what's happening. And like, I literally was trying to, as the character, reach his ear, and he's ignoring me. So it's something that just sort of erupted from the moment. It adds these like different textures and layers to the dynamics and to the relationships. And I love that stuff, because you do have to walk a tightrope on this show. It's really hard to like improvise, especially with the procedural scenes, because there's a certain line that you need to deliver at a certain moment where there's a certain action. But these moments that can breathe a little bit more are really exciting.
I felt that you did something in season 1 that was very intentional, but I don't know if that's you, Shawn, do it. Eye contact. Is that just you? And then you just translated into the character? Because there was a lot of made of certain eye contacts that you made.
It's hard for me to say it, but I think Abbot is very close to who I am in a lot of ways. And I think playing yourself is hard, playing a version of yourself. But I find that a lot of the physical attributes and the way he speaks are similar to me. So yeah, that's definitely something that I try to do. I try to make eye contact.
He does. There was a lot of fan edits about your eye contact with Dr. Mohan. Like, let me just say that. Have you seen how people are very interested to see their dynamic?
I have seen this. I have fueled some of it because I think it's funny. But I've said it before. There was a scene early on in the first episode where he defends her as the smartest person in the ER, and it got cut. But I just always carried that with me, because he sees her as the future, and so there's a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for Dr. Mohan. But it's interesting because he does like to get eye contact.
He does.
And the one person who won't give it to him is Dr. Robbie. And like there's that scene on the roof. John shot it very beautifully because it's two guys who aren't looking at each other, who are talking about something very traumatic and powerful, where they should probably try to get contact to make sure that somebody might not jump. And he just won't give him his eyes. It was a lot of work to
until he says, "Stop talking now."
Exactly. I really had to get over there and just make sure. that goes to show you, like, him not being able to give you his eyes, and then when it actually happens, it means so much.
The bookend of season 1 I love, of you being on the roof in the beginning and then him rescuing Robbie towards the end. What I think is so interesting about that people don't talk about is I think Abbot recognizes more than anyone how much Robbie was suffering because he's been there through the PTSD, and like that throwaway line about, I can give you my therapist's number if you ask her. Do you think Robbie will ever take it?
So I think it's really, it really launches Robbie for season 2, because you have one at the beginning who seems like he doesn't know his purpose, and that's Abbot. And through this event, this mass casualty, he gets clarity on why he's there. And then the mirror's shifting. Robbie's the one that's in trouble. And by the end of it, he says, I can give you my therapist's number. And I think Abbot is working on himself and understands that this stuff takes its toll. And I think season 2 is really about Robbie's unwillingness to do that work and what effect that has on him as a leader.
You are very punchy today.
Punchy's my new baseline. No one even looks at me funny. I'm taking him out. Going right for the eyes. Well, I got you. But you never knew that about me.
I did not. Where is Dr. Al-Hashimi?
In North 5 at the priapism.
Better her than me. I did not intend for that to come off as sexual in any way.
Gentlemen, congratulations on the Emmys, all the success, and that we're back for season 2. I do have to start, though, with just that, the reception. Like, I was talking to Noah about it. I think every medical professional that has a YouTube channel reacted to your show and said it was, like, the best thing ever. And he said that was a huge part of the impetus of it. And so how rewarding has it been to have this reception from the medical community?
That's the thing you hope for more than anything else when you're trying to do something, put this much attention into trying to make the medicine correct. We're just trying to say that people who take care of us are extraordinary human beings who go through very, very difficult situations, and that we wanted to honor them in some way by just showing what they go through in the day, and to have them respond with, yeah, this is something that I can show my family. And they say, is it really like that? You never talk about it. And they say, yeah, it really is like that. And I can't come home and just talk about it, not because it's a violation of HIPAA, but because I can't get across the emotional experience of spending 12 or 13 or 14 hours doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you always appreciate the feedback from your peers. So we got feedback from our peers in the business, but also the peers of the medicine. And for them to say, I finally feel seen, it was really powerful. And to hear from individuals who, having watched the show, realize that they themselves are suffering from PTSD and trauma and haven't taken the steps they need to and are now going to take the steps, that's really fulfilling to know that we've had that kind of impact.
And I love how meticulous the show feels. Like, I feel like not just the medicine is so deliberate, because I feel like that's its own show that you're writing on top of all this character work. How early does that start? Do you book the writer's room with your technical advisors? How do you keep that all sort of like baked in to where it doesn't feel like extra?
Well, they aren't just technical advisors, they're actually writers on the show.
Yeah.
And they're there every moment. And on set, there is someone there every moment who's a practicing emergency room physician, and 9 or 10 practicing nurses who are there. And so it's not an afterthought. It's not like something gets written and then we ask the technical advisor how we did. Yes, they are central to everything that's created.
How do you select those people? How do you know somebody that's going to be great as a writer and also somebody that's going to translate the medicine? Or were these people already working writers before you worked with them?
Jake was a working writer. One of our physicians who's on set is a working ER physician, also works with the Navy and was a writer for Jimmy Kimmel at one time.
Wow.
So, yeah, so he's a writer. Dr. Joe Sachs was still is an emergency room physician, but also was a writer, was on ER. I hired him on NCIS Los Angeles. So he's been writing, we've been writing together for a long time.
Professionally, like 20 years.
Yeah. You don't know. It's sort of like you talk to them and then there is a learning process for doctors, because to learn to be able to speak to each other and then to speak to us and make it so that I can now translate it to the audience is a process, but it works.
Another reason why the show works is how well y'all cast it. I mean, we're spending all day with all these actors, and I know Noah and Katherine took home Emmys, but I really feel that they could have given it to anybody that you guys had on screen last year. Even the guest stars, like so many of them, including ones that are related to your cast, Mr. Brad Dourif. I just thought that was so great, and Fiona said that was a producer that kind of like said that. My question is, because he's already talked about how much he loves the show, is there the temptation now to get Brian to come in with Taylor to just be like, okay, now we got to do the trifecta of the dads? Or
it's a temptation that we want to avoid.
You want to avoid? Well, you get Noah's mom in there.
Yeah, but one of the things about Fiona's dad is that he was not recognizable in the part.
That's true.
You know, so it didn't distract from the reality of it. We don't want to pull the attention away from the medicine and the wonderful actors that we have. And we have any number of really fantastic people who've come in to guest star who have extraordinary careers, but they are working actors who are just fantastic actors, great with their craft. And that's what it is with all of our regulars, is that they are actors. They are very accomplished ensemble members.
I know. That's why, like, every hospital person I look up later, I'm like, this dude's been on 80 things, but I just didn't know it. So, yeah, no, I know. You guys are good. Yeah, I get it.
That was the point. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, no,
Thank you for saying
Y'all know what you're doing, and I'm just over here like, give me more. But one thing that you are bringing back is, like, the frequent flyers. So, like, we see Earl. What is the litmus test for who are these folks that are going to kind of be like the patrons at the bar at Cheers?
I think sometimes for us, those are things that we just put in motion. And, you know, certain writers will gravitate to certain characters and they'll, oh, I want to have Earl in my episode. You know, sometimes there's a long-term plan involved and sometimes we just sort of seed them in there and they're sort of like Easter eggs that we can go and gather whenever we want.
When you guys knew that you were going to make it 10 months later, what themes were you most interested to explore with just the overall characters? Because I think you guys said in season 1, it's the PTSD of COVID and how it's affecting the emergency room. So what's the themes y'all are exploring in season 2?
I think the first season, I always said it was sort of about hope. I think the second season is about healing. Langdon's going through the process of healing. Robbie should be going through the process of healing. Dana's coming back from a physical assault. So I would say healing is part of the theme of the second season.
You're deciding what stories are sort of populating, like, that are a part of it. Like, it felt like the measles case in the first one, on some of the opioid stuff. What other sort of medical themes are you looking to explore this year?
Well, those come up kind of ground up, which is there's a tremendous amount of research that the writing staff does. Talk to many physicians, have all the physicians and nurses who we work with all the time. And they tell us what they're concerned with. Like, we just ask, like, what are you worried about? What's coming up? And, you know, there are obvious ones that are in the newspaper, and those are impacting what people are concerned about. But it's also things that you would never think of, that you didn't really know about. This year, it's, you know, obviously we're dealing with the issues with the reduction in the ACA, you know, the fact that we're likely to look at 8 to 10 million more uninsured people who are not going to be getting any kind of primary care and are going to be showing up in the emergency rooms, which is closing rural hospitals, but it's also going to have tremendous impact on our urban medical centers. You know, we're not trying to be topical exactly. We're actually just trying to say, what are our physicians worried about and how can we make those into stories for our physicians on the show?
I love that. One of the things I also love with the writing is y'all just throw out a line or something in the camera that tells me like oceans of backstory, like seeing Dr. Abbott's amputation when Fiona says that she used to play basketball. What's your favorite little backstory that we're going to find out about one of these characters in season 2 that we didn't know about in season 1?
There's a lot. We learned about Abbott's other gig, what's been going on with Whitaker in terms of a relationship some might think is inappropriate. I think we learned something, hopefully, about every character that's a little more, you know, that's the beauty, is getting a little more of a reveal this year about what's going on in their lives. And some of them are surprises to those characters themselves. Like,
really?
Yes.
But the Mateo Javadi ship's happening, right? Come on. Don't do this, sweet.
Here's one of the wonderful things that happens on these shows, which is when you have a lot of people see it, a lot of people are also casting directors. And so actors get opportunities to do other things. And so that's great. That's the reason I come and do the show if they're not one of the regulars. And so people are going to come in and out a little bit based on them having other opportunities. And that's wonderful.